of my lips and the meditations of my heart be always righteous in your sight. Amen. On Wednesday evening at the moment, a group of us are meeting here at St. Mark's to discuss the Lord's Prayer. It's part of the Pilgrim Course, a series of studies about what it means to be a Christian. Although it's really geared towards those that are new to faith, nonetheless we're finding it quite engaging and often find ourselves taking a tangent as we debate and discuss the topics. It's a wonderful session, and it's fantastic to be able to come together with fellow Christians to talk about our faith and to pray together. Everybody is welcome. We meet again for that on Wednesday at 7 p.m. if you're free. Alternatively, the same course starts again on Monday the 3rd at 11 a.m. again here at St. Mark's, should that work for you. But there's a train of thought that says that war is often motivated by religion. It's fair to say that so many atrocities and attacks are committed by those claiming to act in the name of God. So what would you do if the government declared that prayer was illegal? To be caught in prayer carried a fine. Meeting in groups to discuss our faith could land you in prison. Attending a Sunday service could carry a life sentence. Would you continue to pray? Would you dare to do so publicly? Or perhaps would you pray in secret? In our reading from Daniel this evening, that's the story we hear. But regardless of if you read this story literally or rather as a parable, scarily, this does actually happen. It's even happened here in this very country. In the reign of Queen Mary, many Protestants faced a torturous death, being burned at the stake because of their faith. I'm sure many thought themselves brave enough to face the fire, but when confronted, how many would find themselves balking at the prospect? After all, we read in our Bibles that God is a just and loving God who protects his people. But when it comes to the crunch, would you be willing to bet your life on that? Daniel did. Daniel, through dedication to God, lived a good life, and by following God's law, curried favour with the Persian occupiers of the Jewish people. Indeed, so much so that he rose through the ranks, securing a good position in the kingdom. As the outsider, this didn't sit very well with the other satraps, who were envious of Daniel's position and his success, and thus conspired to unseat him. Their plan, recognizing Daniel's faith and dedication to God, how Daniel would pray regularly to God at the same time each day, they appealed to the vanity of the Persian leader. Why would mighty King Darius accept the split adoration of his people? Surely all under his rule should pray only to him. Surely it would be right to outlaw prayer to any other than Darius, the great and magnificent ruler. I'm sure that Darius liked the sound of that. After all, who doesn't like to receive the adoration and praise of others? I'm sure Darius didn't consider his good friend Daniel as he signed an irreversible edict into law. What might you do at this point? Now, I'm not sure, but I wonder if I might have compromised a bit. After all, this edict wasn't forever. It's actually only for 1 month. Perhaps I could have abstained from prayer for that time, or perhaps I could have prayed silently, maybe hiding myself away as I did the deed. I'm sure that God would understand. He's a loving God and knows that we're not quite perfect after all. Daniel didn't compromise. Daniel didn't change his actions. He continued to pray, facing Jerusalem and praising his God. The very thing that Darius loved in Daniel was the very reason that Daniel continued, an integrity to do what he felt was right. He didn't stop in prayer. Indeed, I suspect he prayed all the harder. I wonder if his prayers beseeched for God to handle the situation. Daniel continued. His routine did not alter. The time of his prayer persisted. His attitude remained. He did not hide his faith. Rather, I'm sure that Daniel had faith that God was in charge and in control. He continued without flinching away or hiding his prayer in fear. It's because of those of faith and their integrity and strength of belief that we're having this conversation today, here in this building of St. Mark's. We have our faith because those who have come before us followed God without compromise, from Jesus' disciples all the way back through Jewish history. God isn't asking for half an effort from us. He asks that we give our all. He asks that we set the standard, and in doing so, set the standard as high as we can make it. He asks for an absolute commitment, and there's a reward for going the distance. Here's a strange thought. Did God want Daniel in the lion's den? After all, Darius, his edict was very clear. To be caught flouting this law invited death at the jaws of hungry lions. But Daniel didn't stop in his prayer. Prayer is where we can converse with God. Couldn't God, at one of these points of prayer, have suggested to Daniel that his prayer was flattering, but Daniel was worth more alive? No. Daniel was caught. He suffered for God, and in doing so lost his position, rather than compromise and maintain or perhaps secure promotion. For his rebellion, he was thrown to the lions, condemned to a grisly end. What might you expect to find the day after such an act? Darius expected pleasantly plump lions using Daniel's tibia as a toothpick, not likely expecting to see Daniel comfortable with those very same lions. I expect those lions acted perhaps more like my pet cat Bailey than the symbolic king of the jungle. God used Daniel's faith as a lesson to the Persian king and by extension to the Persian people. He demonstrated through Daniel that dedication and faithfulness would yield reward and protection from a loving Father. If we stand for God in our actions and our prayers, surely our commitment will be rewarded as well. Thy kingdom come. It's an initiative to focus people in prayer, a global movement that invites Christians across the world to pray that more people would come to know Jesus. It's a focus from the 31st of May until the 8th of June, that people will deepen their relationship with Christ. We'll pray for God's Spirit to work in their lives and in the lives of those we know, and that we might all come together to realize that every aspect of our lives is the stuff of prayer. St. Mark's is taking part, of course, working with our brothers and sisters in Lymington and even bringing prayer to the streets of Pennington. Many people go through life feeling that something is missing. Daniel demonstrates that through commitment to prayer, the impossible becomes possible. Can we not ourselves share our burdens with God in prayer? Can we not ask for help with our troubles? Can we too find the possible from impossible? Daniel's prayer ultimately shaped the course of a nation, bringing the Persian Empire closer to God. Can our own intercessions achieve the same for our community and indeed our country? As we leave today, perhaps there's something to take with us. And there's this understanding that by putting aside a bit of time for God in prayer, we can wait for God and hear his voice. I wonder if by this time next week, a renewed dedication and vigour to this each and every day could perhaps see a difference. I'm willing to give that a try. Will you join me?